This is the Out of Time Film Podcast, where your hosts Tom and John discuss everything from blockbuster films to TV and games like there's no tomorrow.
Hello and welcome to the Out of Time Film Podcast. My name is Tom and as always I'm joined by my co-host John, and this week we're talking about 2023's The Little Mermaid.
Yay! Yeah, this was a surprising one. Don't you think, Tom? We've been through so many remakes, like the Pinocchio remake that we just recently talked about. But yeah, this one was a surprise.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, as you say, we did Pinocchio, we did Mulan, and obviously before that there's been a ton of these, and it really is just diminishing returns each time, and I wasn't expecting anything from this one, but yeah, I agree with you. This was kind of surprisingly great. So full spoilers ahead for anyone who hasn't seen it. Little Mermaid, briefly explain the plot for those who don't know.
The youngest of King Triton's daughters, Ariel is a beautiful and spirited young mermaid with a thirst for adventure. Longing to find out about the world beyond the sea, Ariel visits the surface and falls for the dashing Prince Eric. Following her heart, she makes a deal with the evil sea witch Ursula to explore life on land.
Fantastic. So we've already got into it a little bit, but let's talk in depth. I think first thing that we have to say is Halle Bailey as Ariel is top tier casting. For the most part, you know, the Disney live action remake canon, if you want to call it that, they do pretty well in their castings, I would say. Obviously, there are some times when they really kind of miss. But for the most part, I think we got some really, really good live action. And I think this performance that she gives, the emotion that she gives, and, you know, her likability, her charisma, and her singing talent, holy crap, she is just incredible. I would say that she kind of surpasses every single one of the other live action Disney princesses. She just absolutely owned this role.
Yeah, I agree. She killed it with everything as Ariel. Her singing was just phenomenal. I really liked Part of You. I thought that was just fantastic. That really showed her vocal skills and her acting as well. I really loved her performance, especially when she didn't have any speaking roles later on because she loses her voice in the story. And I thought, she just gave it really good with that. And I thought that was really emotional.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that Part of Your World scene, the reprise when obviously, I mentioned it when we talked about the original, but, when she's on the rock and the waves crash behind her, I swear every single hair on my body stood up and I had the most chills ever. I probably looked like I had all static electricity in my hair just up, but I felt so it was so emotionally powerful, and the way they kind of translated that was just incredible. I mean, obviously, I wouldn't say this movie is the prettiest thing to look at. I think sometimes it really, really shines, and the visuals are amazing. I think the best shot in the movie is probably when she comes up out of the water after getting legs for the first time, and she kind of flips her hair, and the sun is setting.
Oh, yeah.
That is an absolutely incredible shot. But there were definitely a lot of times when there is definitely a disconnect between the visuals and obviously all the CGI that they're using and the water. And I think it's interesting because obviously we just got Avatar: The Way of Water, where they actually film every underwater sequence underwater, whereas this, obviously, they need to talk, and there are other reasons why they're not doing everything underwater. So obviously it's more kind of green screen and then composited in. And I don't know, how did that work for you, the underwater sequences and all the CGI?
I mean, it was very distracting, not gonna lie. When you see Javier Bardem just trying to swim underwater, just he's trying to not walk, but using his arms, just he's moving, which is just so distracting. But not gonna lie, there was some good CGI, but there was really distracting ones like Sebastian and Scuttle.
Yeah, there it is. That was going to be my next point.
there it is. And there was a bizarre scene, which we'll get into, about those two. Me and Tom looked at each other what?
What was the scene? Which scene?
What? Okay, it's when they rap.
Oh no. Yeah. I mean, let's talk about that now. Why not?
Okay, let's do it.
Obviously they're quite new songs, but this one song, Scuttlebutt, this was written by Lin-Manuel Miranda, and it's so it's so obvious that they brought him in and they were like, we need to bring the fresh talent. Here's Lin, and he's gonna give us a rap, and it was just so out of place. It really appeared out of nowhere. It doesn't sound like any of the other songs, even with the other newer songs that they've added in, it was just the weirdest song ever.
Aquafina was playing a score. When she started to rap, I was like, oh, okay, let's see where this goes. It's not too distracting. But it got to the point where they were rapping too fast. And I was thinking, wait, this kind of... Why does this kind of sound like, Hamilton, in a way of like its style? And now you told me that, I'm like, oh.
It all makes sense.
It all makes sense.
It feels like every Disney film these days, they're like, we got to bring in Lin, whether it be like Encanto or this, or, obviously like, first of all, like Moana and Mary Poppins Returns. It feels like they're like, yes, how do we give this like a musical edge? I know what we're going to do. We're going to bring him in, and he just seems to be like on speed dial. They just click in their offices and they're like, Lin, got to get down here right now. He's like, I'm on my way. And he just writes them something, and then he moves on to the next project. It just doesn't fit. And I will say that I actually, like voice acting wise, I didn't mind Aquafina or Daveed Diggs or Jacob Tremblay in the roles of Scuttle and Sebastian and the other one. What's the other one called? The flounder, that's it. Yeah, I didn't mind them though. Like I was really worried because I think like Aquafina especially, I find her to be really jarring sometimes. Obviously, like she has great roles like The Farewell, and then there's also like Raya and the Last Dragon, where I think she really kind of drags that movie down at times, and same for Shang-Chi. And I think this one I didn't mind her at all. And I thought it was interesting that they changed Scuttle from being a seagull to like a kind of seabird that can breathe underwater, which I thought was interesting, because I know that a lot of people like were talking about how ridiculous it is that a seagull can breathe underwater, but it was actually a different bird.
Yeah, it was very distracting. Was it in the original that score just goes in underwater? No.
Wait, no, it wasn't. It wasn't in the original. They only see Scuttle above land.
Yeah, but I don't know how Scuttle can be underwater that long.
I think some birds can. I think some birds genuinely. Yeah, I think that's how that works.
Oh, the more I'll learn.
But also, it's a universe of mermaids. So if the bird wants to breathe underwater, it can breathe underwater. I tell you what, there was so much like it reminded me of Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, in which Sebastian J. Cricket is always being abused, and every time he tries to do the same song, he always gets like stamped on. Sebastian in this movie is just constantly getting abused to the point where one of his final scenes is just he's like, okay, drop me when I say, and then Scuttle drops him, and he falls. As he falls, he's like, no, and he falls down. And it's just like, damn, that guy just gets beaten around the whole time.
He's been through a lot. And I really like that they actually invested a lot of the scenes with Ariel and Eric. In the original, you got the dinner party scene and Sebastian getting chased by the cook.
Yeah, they removed that completely.
They removed that completely, which I really liked, because we got into some character with Ariel and Eric. I thought it was really good. Like they actually explored a lot more of it. And I gotta say, there was some shots of Eric, the actor's Jonah-Hauer-King, and there was some shots that he looked like Ryan Gosling for some bits. I was like, oh, it's Ryan Gosling.
Like, Ryan? You just kept
Ryan?
Everywhere you go, you see his face.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a big moment for me, because when we went to go and see Little Mermaid, it was the first time that I'd ever watched the Barbie trailer. Like I had avoided it so I could hopefully only see it at the cinema, so I hadn't watched it online. And then I saw it, and it was just the great. And bearing in mind, like this is a cinema that's just full of like families and small children, and it's just us. Like the cinema attendant gave us a very weird look when she saw that we were gonna watch Little Mermaid, and we're there for like as critics. Like, yes.
Yes,
we're going to
cinema.
When the Barbie trailer came up, I was just like, yes! It's like the only person.
I was very happy for you. I was like tearing up. I was like, yes, someone can finally see the Barbie trailer. And it's funny when the cinema person who was giving us the seats and stuff, she was like, enjoy your time.
Yeah. Like these two 20-year-olds just like, yes, we will. We're gonna have a great time. And we did. Like surprisingly, like, again, like we had a great time with the movie.
We had a great time.
Yeah, but on your point about Eric and Ariel, I like how they gave them a lot more in common. They gave the idea that Eric and Ariel feel the same pressure from their monarch parents. Like, I don't know if we meet Eric's parents or parent in the original, but here we have his mum, and you kind of see like the pressure that she gives on him, and the things that he wants to do, and the things that she won't let him do. He wants to explore the world, and she won't let him. Just like how Triton won't let Ariel explore the world. And I thought that those comparisons really, really work. And when they're kind of in the study and they're looking at like all the different maps and stuff, and like she's showing him like the gem inside the sea rock, Stuff like that
Yeah.
is ways that kind of like we criticized in the first film in the original that their attractions seemed mostly physical, but this time you get to see like they kind of hang out more. Like there's a great scene where they like all dance in this market and they're all like, you know, having a great time and bonding this whole time. This is just before Kiss the Girl. And I just think it really, really works. Like in the original, again, we said this last time, but Ariel barely gets a chance to properly experience what it's like in the human world. It feels like more so she's focused on Eric, whereas this you get to see her like have a really great time.
Yeah, going through the markets and experiencing new food and yeah, exploring the world. I really like that she got to explore more. Eric, he had a proper motivation really. Like he just wanted to explore the world and he didn't really save the day. That is pretty good that they changed that because Ariel actually saves the day against this massive kaiju, Ursula.
I can't believe they did the kaiju Ursula. I was like, I don't know how they're gonna do it. I know it's gonna work, but they actually went for it at the end.
It was crazy. It was actually crazy. They actually did a really cool CGI version of the Ursula kaiju. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I really
cool.
liked how, you know, so much of it was silhouetted because like we're in a thunderstorm and the lightning is flashes of light and all that really works. Because obviously, like whenever you see like the big CGI Melissa McCarthy, it's a bit like, oh, it's a bit odd. But the fact that they kept it all kind of shrouded and all terrifying and large and in mystery, I thought really worked. But yeah, I agree. Like, I think Eric kind of gets so much more development, and that puts him and Ariel together in a more kind of organic way. And also, I want to give a shout out to Grimsby, who is the greatest wingman I have ever seen. In the original, he's just like, "Oh, hello, sir, I've made this statue for you." And in this one, he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna give you a carriage. What carriage? Oh, let's not tell anyone." And then like at the end, like when Eric gets engaged to Ursula, Grimsby like kicks the ring away so he can't find it because he wants him to be happy. And when the queen's like, "Oh, do you know where he is?" and he sees him hiding and he's like, "Oh, I have no idea." Like Grimsby is just the greatest wingman I've ever seen.
He knows what he's doing, and like, yes, he's a Chad. He's trying to get Eric and Ariel to be together. And yeah, should we talk about Ursula, the villain? It wasn't that bad or terrible or all of that. I thought it was all right. Like, I thought that she had a pretty good presence, but I wasn't really terrified, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I don't think like first of all, I think the effects on her were pretty difficult. Like the the kind of like the tendrils, like squid kind of like legs.
Yeah.
What are they called? I don't know.
Tentacles?
Yeah, of course, tentacles. Her kind of
What
like tentacles,
what we
like
seen
that.
before? What we seen?
Tendrils? That's a
Okay,
thing.
okay, we gotta move on from that. We gotta move on from that now.
But like, yeah, I thought that was kind of a little bit shaky. And there's a moment at the end when she kind of like crawls towards Ariel. Like, do you know the moment I mean? Like at the wedding, like she transforms from her beautiful like form into like her natural form, and she kind of crawls across to Ariel, and it looks just like really weird. Like I think a lot of her movements they didn't quite know how to kind of like make it work. And I think Melissa McCarthy did a good job. I mean, she's no Pat Carroll. Poor Unfortunate Souls didn't hold a candle to the original, but I did think she held a good presence, and especially considering the other Disney live action remakes, where the villains are so forgettable and so terrible, especially in comparison to their animated counterparts. I think she did do a good job.
Yeah, I thought she did really well. There was one scene that made me really laugh. It was when she was looking for the potion that can turn her human, and she was getting really mad, and then she was about to have a massive meltdown. She was like really getting angry. She's like, "No, I need to find it." And then the potion actually floats down to her, and he's like, "Oh, I'm fine, guys. Don't worry."
Yeah, she's like, "No!" Oh, here it is. Like, I love that she was properly hamming it up. She wasn't trying to do her own thing too drastically, and she was just like, "Yeah, no, this is a stupid, goofy character, and I'm gonna play it, with as much goofiness as it deserves." And I think, yeah, like that stuff really did work. It was brilliant. And like we definitely also like explore the idea of humans and mermaids in this. Like there's a lot of like the humans thinking about like, oh, the sea gods and stuff like that. And I thought that was another like interesting level to bring in the idea of not only are the mermaids a bit wary of the humans, but the humans are also wary of the mermaids. There is something interesting about that, and it it culminates in this moment at the end when all the mermaids kind of come and see off Ariel and Eric as they go on their adventure. And they're like, they're kind of like rowing away, and then like Eric sees something in the distance and Ariel looks, and we just cut to Javier Bardem just in the water. Is the funniest thing, just there, just like a mid shot of him just in the water. And considering that the whole time he's kind of been under the water, then just seeing him just there, and we're not even like, we don't see him emerge or anything. We're not seeing any kind of wide shots where all the mermaids come up and he comes up at the end. It's just him. He's just there, just floating as if he's just in a completely different place. And it was just the most stupid thing ever.
It's just Javier Bardem just floating in the sea with his King Triton's cosplay, and he's just floating there. He looks very sad.
He's like, I used to be in No Country for Old Men. I used to do real movies, so now I'm here.
I was Sugar. Do you know who I was?
You gotta say, like, even though you can tell that some of the actors are phoning it in, I do appreciate the fact that they are memorable in their own ways, even though you can tell that people like Javier Bardem aren't really having the best time. But again, like, when you're kind of going up against such a great cast as you have in the original, it's difficult, but I think they still do a really good job.
Yeah, and wait, Tom.
Yes.
I'm just looking at the cast list.
Uh-huh.
Somehow Lin-Manuel Miranda is in the film.
Of course he is. Who? Who did he play?
It's unknown.
Oh my god. Did he play Max? Was he the dog this whole time?
And you could just see him just like, okay, who do I want to be? And he's like, you could be Max, the dog. And then you would just take the role. You would just...
Imagine if he was King Triton and they gave Triton a rap. Like when he's destroying Ariel's like cave, he just starts rapping.
And then you get Eminem's Lose Yourself beat. And it's just like him just trying to destroy this cave. Oh my god.
I mean, that has to happen now, right? Like we gotta make another remake.
Yeah, but overall, this film was really strong. It's a really fun film, especially when we got to Under the Sea, and it was really fun. We've just been through this underwater CGI. I mean, like, Halle Bailey is just killing it, but I feel like the CGI, we're not seeing it much, really. But then, Sebastian with the Under the Sea song, which was just changing up the whole vibe. In the cinema, we were just, like, bopping to it. We were just like, this is a really good tune. It was very nice, the whole sequence. I really liked it.
Yeah, I think they did all the original songs really, really well. Kiss the Girl as well. Like, I remember that scene being released like as a clip, and a lot of people were kind of really disappointed with it, but I think in context, and once you've kind of gone through the rest of the film, it really, really works. A lot of the stuff underwater is very difficult because when you're in animation, you don't have the disconnect between the CGI and the live action person. It's just everything is animation, and so it all fits seamlessly. But in this, obviously, it does feel a bit weird seeing like the people who have been composited in, and it makes me think maybe they should have done a bit more of what James Cameron did and filmed some more of it underwater. I know that obviously you can't have the actors talk underwater, but I think a lot of the shots could have benefited from having that more realism to it. And obviously the ocean can look as beautiful as they make it look. I think the techniques they used in Avatar would have been amazing to see. But at the end of the day, I don't really expect Disney to be putting in that much effort into one of their remakes, because at the end of the day, this is a very simple cash cow for them, which is interesting because this movie, it's not doing as well as the other live action remakes did released in cinemas. So that it's going to be interesting to see what kind of knock-on effect this has, when I would argue that this is much more worth watching than Aladdin or The Lion King, which were huge in 2019. All of the original stuff they really kind of nail, and the songs really fit that vibe. There was one new song that they added that I just thought was really funny, which is Eric has a little song where he's kind of like talking, like he's like singing on the rocks. And I'd already seen a review beforehand from Daniel J. Layton where he makes the comparison of Pierce Brosnan in Mamma Mia when he yells at Donna at the end of The Winner Takes It All, and he's just kind of like, Donna! Like, and that was exactly what the song from Eric was. And the whole time I just couldn't stop thinking about that. So thanks, Dan. That was incredible.
Yes.
Like stuff like that, I wasn't taking it too seriously, and I really enjoyed it. And you can also see that the crowd were enjoying it too. All like the kids in the audience. Some of the younger kids were obviously like scared of stuff like Ursula, but I think mostly the kids really had a good time, and that's what it's about at the end of the day. A lot of this really does hit exactly the way that it should.
Yeah, it was a very, very fun film. There's a lot that goes into it. I'm glad that they done a faithful adaptation to it. It's funny when you look on Twitter and you see Halle and Jonah training for the film. And it's funny because you see Halle using this neck exercise, weights, I don't know.
It's all like core strength, isn't it?
Yeah, core strength. And then Jonah, he was just like on this thing and he was just like kneeling forward. He was just like standing like this. I'm like, what are they training for in this film? Is it for the underwater scenes? Is it just
Yeah, like
anything
she
like
has
that?
to like lift him up. Like there's like behind the scenes of like when they're like above the waves and she's like lifting him up. And that's like, that's really like impressive. Like, you consider the height difference between the two. And obviously she's in a rig half the time when she's kind of swimming about. And it's like, man, the training that went into that, you gotta think that she's just jacked now.
Yeah, and there's a lot that goes into this. And then another bit behind the scenes was when there's like these group of CGI, when people are dressed in blue or in green to like
Yeah.
move sets. There's one shot of Halle, and then she's on one of the CGI guys who is like as like a turtle in the scene. It's for Under the Sea, and it was only used for one shot, only for 10 seconds, and it was the 10 of these guys punched on the floor using their arms as the turtle hands. It was just so funny.
They're just rocking backward and forward. It's like it is that weird kind of disconnect between the CGI creatures and the real actors who are in the situation. It's just brilliant.
Yeah, I just can't stop thinking about Javier Bardem just floating in the sea.
That's the main takeaway from this movie, folks. Javier Bardem floating in the sea, having a crisis of identity.
Just like, why am I here? Just to suffer every day.
To suffer. Yeah. Well, what are you gonna give the 2023 Little Mermaid out of 10?
I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm gonna also go for a 7. Fun time. Thank you everybody for listening. If you're listening on YouTube and you enjoyed it, you can leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more. And if you're listening on Spotify, you can follow and give us a 5-star review if you think we're worthy. Next week, we're doing The Flash, the long-awaited Flash movie, which, has had so much press. Is it the best superhero movie ever?
Tom Cruise
I guess
said
we will see.
It was amazing.
Tom Cruise said it's going to save cinema.
And then
and
Stephen King.
Even Stephen King said that it was the greatest thing he's ever seen ever. And you can send us an email at outsidefilmpod@gmail.com and let us know your thoughts on The Flash and ask us any questions and we'll answer it right here on the podcast next week. And you can follow us on Instagram at outsidefilmpod to see our incredible thumbnails from Zain Afzal and on Twitter for more thoughts from me. And you can find links to all that in the description below. Thanks to Jones-Meyer for the excellent theme and Ronan Phillips for vocals, as always. And I think that's everything.
Yeah, thank you for listening. Take what you're given.
Give nothing back.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.